All right, so let's move away from this a little bit, and I want to get your opinion on one other thing. Yeah, what are your thoughts on the 40-hour work week?
I think it's important in some areas, and I think it's completely useless in others.
And this is kind of gets back to what I was talking about.
What do you do? What is your job? What is your job? Like, explain to me.
Look, okay, he's talking about the auto unions. He's talking about auto workers. All right. They build cars, like they're working on assembly line. That's their job.
So, assembly line worker?
Assembly line worker. We'll start there.
Important. It's important.
Okay, so here's and this goes back to one of my previous arguments.
Okay.
Is the 40-hour work week was set when one person could work in a household and work 40 hours. Now we're in a situation where that 40 hours is now 80 hours. All right.
You already said this. Yeah. I mean, in a dynamic of a family.
In the dynamic of a family,
having two people out of the house, that math still doesn't stand. I don't like the comparison that you use there.
Why is that? Explain to me why.
Because we're talking about an individual. We're not talking about a household. We're talking about a 32-hour work week for one individual. Right?
Yes.
And so you keep saying that now because there's two incomes, you're using a money analysis to describe time, and I don't agree with that. And I don't agree that it's one person working 32 hours. Now that is okay. Now if you want to talk about income, you're correct.
Yes.
If it is no longer $60,000, no longer supports a single family of four.
Yes.
It is now 120. That is doubled.
Yes.
I will give you that.
Yes.
But when it comes to time of hours, work hours, only one individual is working 32 hours. That has not become 80 hours. Only one individual is.
Right. I'm referring to, all right, you have a couple problems here. Okay. You have people complaining about the lack of family institution. And they say that is the problem with our society. And on the other foot, they say that both people in the house need to work 40 hours a week.
No, they don't say anything. That is just how it is. That is the price of things. Over the last 50 years, it has been intentionally placed that way to put women back in the workforce because they figured, hey, everybody can make more money this way, right?
Yeah.
I think the people saying that the family, I don't think they had anything to do with why we have two family incomes.
No, I agree with you.
Why we need two family incomes.
I agree with you on that point. I think that is I'm referring to the argument of the older generations of like what should be done. Like you can't complain about two things that conflict with each other and not realize that something has to change. Okay. So I have worked jobs where I worked 80 hours in a week, right? I have come to love my personal time. Okay. I love my personal time. I try not to do anything that has to do with anybody else on my personal time. Okay. And I think that is healthy. Like we've come to a point in society where I think it should get easier for people over time. But we have a system that will always milk out the maximum, right? And this is a problem where employees have to stand up. This isn't a problem. Companies are going to do it. I don't think the companies are doing anything wrong, right? But I think that we should consider what we call a work week. All right.
So do you think you should get paid for hours you don't work?
Gosh, no.
Okay, that's what they were asking for.
No.
They were asking to work 32 hours a week, but still get paid for 40.
Okay. That's what they're asking for. And the company has every right to tell them no. Now,
yeah,
I think that they have a strong argument for we only want to work 32 hours in a week.
That's fine. You only want to work, then you only get paid for 32 hours.
Yeah.
Don't ask for 32, and then that was what I always had the issue with. I don't care about you working a shorter week, 4-hour work week, fine, whatever. Yeah. but make them 12s.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to get paid for 40, work 40.
Yeah.
Work 12s.
Well, and I think the big deal is
or 10s, whatever you want to do.
What that changes is, though, if you put that in place, now anything over 32 hours is overtime.
Well, I mean, then you can't. Yeah. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not paying you overtime.
Yeah. And
I don't have to as a company.
yeah, like I think.
Well,
that,
I don't think. Okay, first off,
we
I don't think the federal government is ever going to. I mean, we're stuck in there's a lot of changes that have to happen to change the 40-hour work week and the laws and things like that.
Mhm.
But if the company wants to say, all right, hey, yeah, we'll let you work 32 hours, then that's fine.
Yeah.
Man, look, I think a lot of this comes down to production based versus first project based. All right.
Right.
So, dude, if I'm in a project based business and I am employed there and I can knock out my project in 2 days,
Yes.
right? Then the rest of my time should be for me.
Oh, I agree. This is why
If
love
I can
contract
get
work.
my daily work done in 3 hours, then the rest of my time is my time.
Exactly. And this is why whenever I do work, when I can, I always do contract work. Because I'm not getting paid for my time. I'm getting paid for my productivity. Right? All right. So,
What professions can't do 32-hour work weeks?
let's see here.
Like I mean, obviously ours.
Yeah.
We're never gonna have a 32-hour
Yeah.
work week, whatever, and that's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
we chose that, and that's fine. That's not
Which
what
we
I'm
have a
saying.
weird schedule anyway.
Yeah.
Which is a different thing all in itself. But, I mean, I think any assembly line job could go to 32 hours. The company would have to hire more people, but if you're not paying for the 40 hours, it doesn't really change your payroll because you're still paying for the same amount of hours.
I'd have to do the math on that. I don't know if that
Yeah.
adds up.
You're probably get increased cost in benefits, right? Depending on how the benefits are negotiated.
Well, you would still have to, yeah. So what is it? 35 hours is a full time. I don't even remember
Yeah.
what qualifies you
Let's
as
see.
a full time employee anymore. I think it's 35. Maybe it's 30.
Let's see here.
30.
30 hours. Yep.
Yeah, so you'd still be a full-time employee anyways. You wouldn't even have to change the laws
Yeah.
for that, for them to be able to cover you for benefits and workman's comp and things like that. So all right, I'm glad you brought up this auto. That was always my biggest thing. Dude, people that know me, especially my wife, will tell you that I value, there's nothing more in this world than I value more than my time. My time is extremely important to me. I understand its value. I always have. I don't chase money. I chase time.
Yeah.
That is my driving factor.
Yeah.
Is time to be able to do what I want when I want.
Yeah.
Right. So I understand wanting to work shorter work weeks. Right. You chose a production-based business.
Yeah.
That requires you to go in. You have to go there and work there.
Yeah.
And put something together. That's fine, but you chose that.
Yep.
Right? That was the job that you chose to go out and get, educate yourself in, and try to keep and grow in. And I'm proud of you. Thank you for having a job. Keep it up. Keep working hard.
Yep.
But it is ridiculous
Okay.
to think that you are going to get paid for 8 hours you don't work.
Yeah, no, I agree. That is ridiculous. That was a bad argument on their part in my opinion. So the 40-hour work week was set in 1940 by Congress.
Okay?
Okay. I think there's two questions here. Should Congress even set a work week? And then, should Congress change the work week?
So, I mean, I think you have to have. I'm not sure. I'm not a historian, so I want to tread very lightly here because this could come back to bite us in the ass. I'm sure it had something to do with regulating how companies were working employees.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Because there was a time that in that companies were absolutely taking advantage of their workers. They could have been working them 60 hours a week and not paying them overtime.
And I think
right?
a lot of companies would still do that today if there weren't things in place.
Yeah.
Like
It's all about profits and for the shareholders. The company only has a responsibility to the shareholders. That is it. They don't have a responsibility to the employees.
yes,
And it often rears its ugly head every now and then, and you
Yep.
see it, and employees are treated poorly. So I think the government stepped in for some regulation to say, hey, you know what? You can't necessarily drive your employees to the ground.
yeah,
They're only going to work 40 hours a week, or you owe them more money.
Yep.
Hey, by the way, you got to give them some breaks every now and then, maybe. And so you see what I'm saying? So I think that's probably where it steps in. Do I think it's important for the government to regulate the work week? Yes, for that. Because if
Yes.
you let capitalism go unchecked, it will abuse the employee every time.
Yep. I agree. I do think that maybe it is time to change the work week, though. Like, it's been since 1940.
I'm gonna disagree. I think what you're saying is, I don't think you're saying it's time to change the work week. I think you're saying it's time to change how we view work.
Yes.
What
I
is
am.
work? Okay, so it is time to change this idea that you have to come into the office, click in, sit at a desk, which is all computer work now
Yep.
for the most part, unless you're in a production-based or skill-based industry. It is all computer work, all shit you could do from home.
Mm-hmm.
Now, studies have proven since COVID that working strictly from home isn't necessarily the answer.
Yes.
Because production out of the employee, albeit in the very beginning, is good, but you start to see a decline. I think a lot of that is because we're social creatures,
Yes.
right? We want to be around people.
Mhm.
I think the hybrid schedule is the ultimate future.
Yes.
All right, so we get into a situation where companies that can work, that don't necessarily always have to be in the office. If you can have a hybrid schedule, that is the ticket to happiness. Every 2 days a week, you are required to come into the office and check in with there'll be flex managers, right? So
Right.
it'll be a different manager in every day of the week, whatever it may be. I don't know. I'm not an economist. I'm not a workplace specialist. But you come in, you report, you work your 5, 6, 8 hours, whatever you want to make them work, right?
Right.
And then you go home, and then the next day you work from home, whatever it may be. And so a month in advance, you come in and you go, all right, I'm requiring, hey, Zach, I need you to come in. Let's try it this way.
Okay.
Hey, Zach, I need you to come in 10 out of the 30 days this month.
Okay.
All right. So what I want you to do is I want you to get on your calendar, and then I want you to pick the 10 days that you're going to come in. I don't care if you come in 5 and 5. You work 2 weeks, and then your last 2 weeks you do from home, whatever it may be. And so you pick in a month in advance. You have a month in advance to go through and figure out your schedule. Okay, I want this day off. All right, I'm going to come into the office on this day. I think this is the future. And I think that allows people, because now I have given the employee their work schedule power back. I've empowered you to choose your work schedule.
Yes, and I think that's huge. I do think there's one issue with that model. All right.
Okay.
I think one of the big problems that businesses are having is the lack of cohesiveness within the culture of the companies. Okay. I think that, yes, you let people pick their own schedules, but you also have to have mandatory days where everyone is in the office, where you have to interact with the people that you're actually working with. Okay.
That's not a terrible idea. Maybe you do that twice. I mean, okay, yeah. I would agree with that. Sure, yeah. So you can put a face to a name. So somebody, they're just not some. I mean, now with Zoom meetings and stuff like that, I mean, we get a lot of that done where you can get some face-to-face time, but that's not a terrible idea.
Yeah.
But now, here's the only problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm a company, I'm on a hybrid schedule. I'm only going to pay for office space
Mm-hmm.
that will fit a third of my employees at the time.
Yeah.
I'm not paying for an office space that's going to be 66% empty
All the time.
most of the time, every day.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm.
So now you're reducing your office space to be able to cover cost. I mean, that's where it makes it cost effective
Right.
for somebody to not, and I'm an employee. If I don't have to drive to work every day, imagine what the commute to work would be like for people that have to go every day.
Yeah.
If nobody is traveling, there's no more rush hour. Dude, it would
Yeah.
solve so many
It would
problems.
solve a lot of problems. I think what would be interesting to see is if you wouldn't get multiple companies housing the same areas, and they set the days that they have the areas, right?
Okay.
Like, I think that could be interesting.
So Haley says here that this is actually interesting. There is
Mm-hmm.
no federal law that says you have to have breaks. It's only a state by state basis. That doesn't.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you're in HR, so I'm going to trust you on that. But that doesn't sound right. I'm just going to say it doesn't sound right. How does OSHA not mandate breaks? I guess that's safety and health. So it may
they
not
would-
mandate break. Maybe it's the equal.
I don't know. That's a rough one.
Edu-
I bet you.
Educate me,
I bet
Haley.
you what it
Educate
is-
me.
Yeah. I bet you what it is if you have a company that works across multiple states, they probably institute the strictest rules of the states that they operate in across the whole company.
I don't know. Maybe.
That would be my guess.
Look, man, I would love to. All right, Haley, I have a question for you. If you're still listening, would you be able to work a hybrid schedule as HR? That is my question for you. I know we can't.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, our job is a trade, right? We're a trade of many talents and many skills that you have to learn. But electricians are always going to have to go to work, right? Plumbers, HVAC. You work on trains, planes, like people that have to actually port service work. Service work. You got to go in, right? It's pretty much only this business model office worker that can go.
Well, in a lot of the trade jobs too, you see their schedules. A lot of times the pay around those schedules changes based on the hours, right? So like I know for me, whenever I was doing a lot of electrical work, I was on call 24/7. All right.
Oh, you did emergency calls?
I did emergency calls,
Oh,
right?
I didn't know that.
But if you called me at 2:00 in the morning on a Saturday, you're not getting the same rate.
No.
I'm
Yeah,
making it worth my time.
And
going
I
in.
don't think anybody would expect that.
And I think the big deal is I think people being able to dictate their hours is super important to a certain degree. And that if a company is going to ask them to operate outside those hours, they need to have the mechanisms in place to be compensated for it.
Sure.
I know a lot of
and that compensation is agreed on before you work the hours.
before you work. Like yes,
Whether it's monetary, whether it's more time off, whether it's benefits, whatever it may be, that should be an agreed upon thing prior to employment,
Yes.
right? And if it does change, there needs to be some type of bargaining tool
yeah,
that you have. I'm not saying in the form of a union. I'm just saying as an employee,
yeah.
if it
Well,
changes.
I think a lot of people mess up by not arguing their contracts before they get employed, especially for some of these salary jobs. I think people get excited about getting a job and then they don't properly negotiate when it comes to their salaries and what it looks like on overtime and what it looks like when you're asking for above and beyond the job title.
Yeah, dude. If you go from hour to salary, and you're not asking for $30,000 to $40,000 pay increase, you're
Yeah.
selling yourself short.
Way short.
Because
they're
you're going to
gonna
work
ask
the
you.
hours. You're going to work the hours. There is no hours when you go salary. Like there is no overtime. Like you've agreed upon that in saying I'm willing to work however many hours.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. That was the big thing in food service. When you went from, it was the biggest scam ever, and I'm sure it's still happening to this day. You would be a bartender and you would work 30 hours a week and you would make 40 grand.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just a nice round number. Whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
You were working 30 hours a week, working 40 grand. And now it's not because of cards and stuff, but back then it was mostly cash, and
Yeah.
so not only that, it was tax free.
Yeah.
Right. So the management would come in and go, "Hey, you're a really good employee. We think that you have this, potential." And they flash this manager thing in front of you, and they go, "We're going to pay you $50,000."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Holy cow, $50,000! That's awesome! Oh, and I'm going to get benefits. Dope! I can go
Yeah.
see a doctor.
Yeah.
Awesome!" And the next thing you know, you're working 70 hours a week,
Yep.
working for $50,000.
Yep. And then you don't
You're
even have-
working 40 hours more a week.
Yeah, you don't even have time to go to the doctor.
No,
'Cause
you
you're
can't schedule it because you're working every day. And see, that's the thing. That's the salary trap that a lot of people fall into. Is you can just almost double the amount of work that you're gonna have to do and the hour. There is no end of the work day.
Yeah.
So you were going down this 40-hour work week. So you
Yeah.
think it's what should it change to?
I think a 36-hour work week, like mandated by Congress, is probably okay. You shouldn't limit the number of hours people should be able to work. Like if somebody wants to work 40 hours a week, let them, right? But I think as a society, we should set the work week at 36 hours. Anything over 36 hours should probably be overtime.
Why 36?
It's an incremental change of 1 day per week.
No, that would
No,
technically
it
be
would
32.
It'd technically be 32. I mean, it would give you a half day on like 1 day a week. Like basically what I would like to see is people get control of their own life a little bit more. Like,
And I think you get that in a hybrid schedule.
yeah, you do get that in a hybrid schedule. So
I don't.
like,
I don't think it's like I said in
or
production based. I don't think you get that.
You got 36 there. A lot of nurses already do 312s and it's considered full time.
Sure. I mean, I'm fine with that.